I'm Bwengye Paul. On my podcast, the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, I've had an honor to sit down with some of the most incredible hearts and minds from Uganda, like Miss Uganda Oliver Nakakande, Joram Job, the Executive Director of Joram Model Management, Pastor Wilson Bugembe, and many, many more. On this podcast, you get to hear raw and real life stories of their journey, what they've been through, and the people that have inspired their journey so that they can make a difference in ours. Listen to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Join the journey soon. Man, I work with technology, and sometimes
it's annoying most of the time. I've worked with cameras a lot, and it's enjoyable, but it's not the best of places you want to be.
Right, like out of the blue, something is not working, and you're like, this thing was working just a second ago, you know?
Yeah, just imagine pressing record, and it stops 2 seconds after you do it, and then you just keep going, and then next thing you realize it was not recording the whole time.
Bro, that happened to me once, like recording these podcasts, you know, like how I was telling you at the beginning, like I want to make sure everything is recording. So like I have 2 cameras in the room. I have a webcam that does my computer. Then I have a sound thing that I use to record. And then I'm supposed to record this meeting. So sometimes when you're not prepared, that's why I like to come in 30 minutes early, make sure all my stuff is working. And
so. Makes sense. Yeah, a lot of people think podcasts is just a matter of turning on a camera and having a microphone, and you just start saying what you need to say.
Yeah, it takes.
And then you realize the technology behind it. You're like, oh yeah, I didn't do good in physics. I didn't do good in sciences. I didn't do good in this, and things starts just summing up in a way.
Bwengye, welcome to my podcast, brother.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be on your podcast. I've watched some of your stuff, and it's really good. Yeah. And I would love to appreciate or extend my gratitude on you kind of sharing with the world with what some of these Ugandans have been doing out here. It's very I would say it's very moving. It's very empowering, and also motivating to the other kids out there that need that, empowerment in a sense.
Yeah, that's I appreciate that, and thank you for recognizing that. And I'm glad you were able to see that from my work, and that's kind of the thing about the podcast. I know these days we're into like podcasts that makes us laugh, funny, which it's pretty cool. Like I love them. I listen to them too. Like Kevin also has some other podcasts where he hosts other comedians and they talk about their life. But like a lot of people, when you see they share podcasts on Instagram, it's about jokes and funny stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I was like, I like that, but I also want the world to know our stories. There's a lot of creative people, especially in Uganda. I don't limit my podcast to only Uganda, but I know there's a lot of guys back in Uganda working,
I've watched a lot of your stuff ever since you gave me, like, Raymond gave me that invitation and told me, and gave me the heads up. I kind of started digging deep into your work, and, that's the thing. We're all humans. We're not really basic. Like we don't come from a specific place in a sense, because even for me, it's a thing that I always say to my friends that I went to school with here in Vancouver, because you meet people from all walks of life. Somebody from Lebanon, somebody from Iran, like Lebanon is in Iran. Sorry, that sounded dumb as hell. Somebody.
That's good.
Yeah, somebody from Lebanon, somebody from Japan, somebody from China, somebody from South Korea, somebody from the USA, somebody from Brazil, Mexico. We all meet in the same place. We're having lunch. We're all kicking it back and just having fun, getting drunk, on Fridays, just having fun with each other. And I remember, talking to my friends and just being like, imagine if we all met on a battlefield. There'll be no question. I wouldn't want to know what your family is like. I wouldn't want to know what your culture is like, what kind of food you eat. I would just be shooting to kill, in a sense. But then when we meet and we realize that it's all different cultures, but we have this one thing like animation, visual effects, art. Like it's something that we all love, and we're all sharing these ideas, and people are bringing in, like their own cultural dynamics in their own art, and I bring in my own from Africa. Everybody's just like, we need to get together and do something. Just to show you, like, hey, we're just citizens of the world. It's not really like a specific space that we can be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like it, like you explained it that way, because one time I put up my work on YouTube, like a podcast, and
Yeah.
one of the guys commented. I posted on Instagram a clip. I like to post clips from the episode so people can go watch the full episode or something. And I hosted this lady from Saint Martini. She grew up in the Caribbean, and she's a DJ because she had worked with Sean Paul and danced in Davido's video. And when she mixes, she does some Afrobeat. So I saw she was connected to Africa in some way. And even if she was not connected to Africa in some way, I wanted to listen to her story. I wanted, because she's a dancer, she's a DJ, and I know in Uganda right now there's a lot of people who are dancers, DJs, and I'm sure.
Yeah, I watched that episode.
Yeah,
for sure.
So one dude commented and said, "This is irrelevant. It's called the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, but you guys are you brought somebody who is not from Uganda." And I didn't want to offend that kind of brain, but then I wanted him to understand, like. And if you listen to that episode, we talk about Uganda, because there's a part where she talks about, she posted one of her mixes of reggaeton on YouTube, on TikTok, and a bunch of Ugandans like commented onto it, and you should do more Uganda songs, or love from Uganda. And she talks about that in the episode, and she talks about how she connected to my podcast through the TikTok, but because somebody didn't listen to it, they just come out of the blue on social media and just, this is irrelevant, or so stuff like that. But I like the comparison you put about all of us, no matter where you're from, we come to this world and chip in our ideas and come up with something really cool. Like, it doesn't matter where you're coming from, as long as you have something to offer to another person. That's all that I take out of that.
Yeah, keyboard warriors will always lurk in the shadows. That's they're always ready. Yeah. They pretty much they're ready to just, quit something and send, they want to be on top of things and say something. I said something to this person. I said this. I did this. I did that.
Yeah.
But context is always everything. And even for me, I'm a really big fan of stand-up comedy. And I grew up on like the old school stand-up comedy that was in your face, brutal stand-up comedy. The Def Jam from the 96.
Yeah.
Like just seeing all the just when Dave Chappelle was as skinny as a bone, like those days when what's his name used
Chris
to wear
Rock.
turbans. Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin used to wear turbans at the time and just do really weird really weird comedy on stage. And right now he can still say the same stuff and it can be canceled, but it's at a point where I have realized, like, sometimes you just gotta keep moving. Like, it's you can't impress everybody, and if you're impressing everybody, you're doing something wrong.
Right. That's exactly true. And a lot of people commented
doing something wrong,
and they said that it's usually what I do, but then sometimes when I see an opportunity to help somebody, I try to take it. Like in that position, I was like, let me try to tell him, or maybe he will learn something from that. So then I brought to him, like, there's a difference between Uganda and Ugandan. And his argument was like, we're not talking about Uganda because my podcast is a Ugandan Boy Talk Show. It's like I told him that I'm just a Ugandan who was born in Uganda. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that this is a Uganda talk show. No, it's open to everybody who wants to share the story. But anyway, that's the topic that the guy got us into. But I'm really excited to have you on the podcast. And when you were starting up, you mentioned Raymond. Raymond recommended you to be on the podcast here, and I was so excited ever since we connected. One of the things I love about the podcast is I've never met you. You've never met me. but we sit down
100%.
and have a conversation. And after that conversation, that's another relationship I've built. And for me, that's one of the
100%.
things I've loved the most. That's my number one thing about the podcast. I don't care about the numbers. I mean, yeah, the numbers are great. But for me as a person, to why I'm doing a podcast is the relationship I make with you guys. So like after today's podcast, I've talked to that guy. I talked to that guy before. Like there's certain relationship has been built. And for me, it's building my, I'll call it like a family. Like every guest I've had on the podcast is like my little family. Like those people are part of my life now. They're part of my journey. I don't know where this podcast will go in 10 years, but you guys, my guests, are going to be part of my journey. And for me, that's a
100%.
big thing. So
100%,
I love when I have you guys here. So how do you know Raymond? When was the first time you encountered him? I assume like him recommending you here, you and him have a relationship and you met at some point in life.
Yeah. Speaking of Raymond, like we even had a conversation yesterday. And literally I was just congratulating him on the Harder Boy, the Kissasimoto episode that he did. And it being the first one, the very first episode on that show made me like really proud. Funny story, the way we met Raymond was there was a friend of mine that I went to school with, and he was a really good sketch artist. His name was Solomon. I forget his other name because we haven't, talked to each other in a while. And he told me like, hey, dude, I know you're into 3D. I think you really need to meet this guy. He just came back from Malaysia, and he's doing some really sick stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm happy to meet him. Like anytime that you want me to. Because for me, I was hungry at the time. Like I really wanted to do stuff, and I had started a business with my brother Ivan at NASA. It was a printing business.
We're in Kampala this time.
Yeah, Kampala, okay. NASA Road.
Yeah.
And he was like, my brother himself was like, hey, dude, we have to be here 24/7 by 6 a.m. We have to be here, like, chop things, just do things very fast, and get work done and get money. And then I'm trying to figure out a way to tell him, like, guy, I have an opportunity here to meet a guy that has gone and studied a whole degree in animation. And here, the only thing because I went to Uptech as well to study animation. But they were teaching us about knowledge, just teaching you this button in Photoshop does this button in this thing does this, next software. So they were not teaching you a whole broad thing at the time. I'm not sure what they teach right now. I'm not trying to put down that school in any way.
Yeah.
They might have changed their syllabus by now, but by then it was mostly buttons that they were teaching us. And at this point I was hungry. And there were some people that actually I will give a shout out later in this whole show, just to give shout outs to people that actually gave me that boost to get me to a place that I've been in. So I tell my brother, like, hey, dude, I have this chance. Please just get someone who can work in my part.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever money you make, I don't need a penny. You can just use some of that money to pay the other guy, you take your share. But you can now rule that guy and tell him whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm part of the business, but I don't need any money right now because I need to chase this thing.
Right.
And he was like, you know what? Go ahead. So Solomon takes me to Raymond, and Solomon had sketches that he had done for Raymond himself. And then we get to Raymond's place, and at the time he was still at his parents' place. And we get into his mom's garage, and it's just one table, 2 seats, 1 computer. But what is on the screen is 3D characters textured, posed, and it's the same drawing I saw in Solomon's book.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing a drawing that I saw in a book, literally transformed into 3D, textured and posed to, like, Hollywood quality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sold at that point. I'm like, I don't care. I need to learn whatever this guy has. So I get in, and he turns off his computer and he's like, so who are you and what do you want? And I'm like, yeah, this is my friend Solomon. He told me, you studied this, and I've been studying a little bit of 3D myself, and I would love to learn from you. And then he turns to Solomon and he's like, so did I tell you that I was opening up a school or something? Like, and then I literally interrupt him. I'm like, dude, I'm on my knees. I'll pay you
Yeah.
if you need me to pay you, but I need to learn from you because this is a dream of mine. And he looks at me and he's like, okay, show me what you've done. And I show him a little bit of the stuff that I had done a little bit. And he's like, okay, cool. And then he's like, okay, I'll give you a call. So I go home that day and I'm just literally like crossing my fingers. And I think it was his brother that actually like gave him a like, hey, dude, you're planning to make a short film, but you can't make this short film on your own. You have a guy that's willing to pay you to teach him stuff. So you can use this guy to kind of cover up different ends. So he gave me a chance. And I came in, I showed up, and I remember he gave me, tests like, hey, how long can you make me like a chair in 3D? I was like, in about 3 hours.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. He's like, okay, do it. And then I do it. He shows me all my mistakes, and then he shows me how I'm supposed to do it. Get reference, get this, like study references and study like how things are built. And then build me one. It took me 2 weeks to build a bed, like just a table.
Wow.
Just one table.
Yeah.
It took me 2 weeks. And he was like, see what I told you? Like you were being cocky. I was like, now I understand. Like, and then he gave me a chance. I got to work on the Kalabanda ate my homework itself. Even right before it was released, actually, is when I had the opportunity to come to Vancouver in a sense and start studying animation myself. But he has been the most supportive person that I can ever like. He's the guy that would check on me even if I'm sleeping at 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's the guy that would text me and I would wake up and text back like, yeah, I'm here. Well, he's like, let me call you. Like, how are you doing? Are you good? How is everything going? This, that. Like, he has been the most, I don't know what kind of human being he is, but he's one of the best. And I'm really proud of him and really happy for him for what he has gotten to this point.
That's amazing because, so I'll tell you the little behind the scene on how we ended up on you. I scheduled a recording with Raymond. This was before Kissasimoto came out. We were supposed to record the week before Kissasimoto comes out. So he calls me. He's like, hey, Bonnie, I know this interview is great. Like, you would love to interview my story, but I'm sure it will work perfect if you wait till the movie comes out. And it will be great for you and for me, because I also understood that because I had not seen the film. So seeing the film will give me more stuff to talk about, an idea on what I'm talking about. Because if I was going to talk about Kissasimoto and I've not seen it, there wasn't anything I was just going to ask him, how did you do it? And then also talking about it before it was released through Disney and all that stuff. So he was like, you can interview me right now, but there's a guy I want you to interview. And he mentioned your name, and that's when I reached out to you. And it's been amazing to connect with that and the things you've talked about him, how he has helped you. Like, we need people like that in life. Like, for you to talk about him like that, how he has helped you, and then for you when you're not there, Raymond, you're the person he said, Bonnie, you need to interview this guy and listen to his story. And we need those people, and those people will say your name even in your absence. Like, people will not just give you an opportunity, but they will carry you, like, they will help you through, even like no matter what. Like, till today, we're here just talking about that. And I looked at your website. I saw you had Kalabanda at my homework there. What was your experience with that and that project? I know you touched a little bit, but I wanted to know, like, your involvement in the film and what experience did you gain from there? And was that before you left for Vancouver, right?
Yes, this was before I came to film school here in Vancouver. My experience on that show was just like, I can't remember any moments of stress whatsoever. None. It felt like I was going to a playground as a kid to play with my best friends.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It was fun. Everybody that we were working with, I remember Alan, um, what's her name? Jemima. They're all the creatures
Animation.
artists that
Yeah.
are in the creatures animator artists, and we used to just have fun, eat good food, and just have fun. And it was literally they had to just make us leave the garage, like get out and go home.
Yeah.
You're done for the day. We were just having fun. It was to us. It was not. We were literally just playing. It
Hmm.
felt like we were playing with things and we were learning more. And it's something you can't explain to somebody unless if they get that job where you're actually not working.
Hmm.
Like when you have to leave work, you're like, okay, now I have to go home. I have to wash these things. I have now to do this,
Yeah.
the laundry. But when you're at work, you feel like you're in a playground. You're just having fun. So
Hmm.
that's mostly what it was. And just having a mentor like Raymond himself, just helping you see things in a different way. And sometimes even by the time I got to just because of Raymond, actually, by the time I got to Vancouver itself, and Vancouver is like the hub of dogs as pets.
Hmm.
He ingrained this thing in me in seeing character in everything.
Right.
Yeah, and it was mostly like, hey, learn. That's the statement he has. It always reminds me of Raymond, like fail fast and learn fast,
Yeah.
learn faster, fail faster, like fail fast and learn faster. So most of the time, and he also said to me like, you can't learn animation, you just live it.
Right.
So the more you visualize and just see things around you the
Hmm.
right way. Just don't look at things, just see them and internalize them and understand things. You can see, because for me, I can see a dog that's depressed. I can see a dog that's happy. I can see a dog that's angry. I can see a dog that's literally just not itself and it really needs help.
Yeah.
Like I can see it off the bat, which is very, very weird. But even some dogs just run up to me because they know
Hmm.
I'm ready to have fun with them. It,
Hmm.
it has been a weird thing that has happened to me here in Vancouver, in a sense, but it's because I put character to these dogs.
Hmm.
I feel like they have a backstory,
Hmm.
and sometimes I even see people. Like I can literally sit on a bench and just watch people walking by. Just by the way they walk, kind of tells you everything about them.
Right. It kind of
Yeah.
gives you like a different superpower. I would call it like a like something to look at it in a different way. Like look at it different than what the normal people usually see.
Yes,
That
but it's more of an assumption. It's
right.
not the right thing, right? It's
Right.
more of an assumption, but then it kind of like it stimulates your brain in a sense because you can see this old man walking, but he's got a smile on his face, maybe some earbuds in his ears, and he has a little bit of a hop in his step. You're like, this guy is probably okay. He's having his pension paid. He's probably good. He probably has a date tonight. No,
Right.
who knows?
Yeah.
Like he's you can see him having fun. Then you can see some of those because there was this one thing actually that happened to me last week that because here in Vancouver there's very less black people.
Hmm.
We're probably like 2%. So it's not easy for anyone to just walk up to somebody and say something, right? I'm walking back from work and then I see this sort of teenage girl who's white seated on stairs and crying. She's crying. I can see her wiping her tears, but she's trying not to show it to anybody. I know I want to walk there and ask her what's wrong, but I'm black. And I'm this middle-aged man who's black, and she's younger, white, and I'm just like I can't stop and say something. It could be considered anything.
Right.
They could consider it that it was me that
Hmm.
did it. I had to walk away from it, and it made me feel like I can see what you're going through so quick,
Hmm.
but I can't react because of this other
Whatever thing.
situation
Yeah.
around it because I haven't understood it just yet. No matter how long I've been here for over probably 6 years,
Hmm.
but I I still have to be careful on choosing
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I can kind of it's a good thing also, but it's also kind of like puts in things here and there. Like you can see somebody in a really bad situation, but you're like, I'm black. I might not be. It might not be the right move for me to do this. They might blame it on me, and then I end up getting sued, jailed. I've heard those stories. So
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yep. Most definitely.
be
Like,
careful. Yeah.
not only even in Vancouver, like in the even the US too. Like you live here, there are some things you can't do because of your skin color or because of who you are
Yeah.
in that environment. Which I don't know. There's at that time, at that point, there's not much you can do about that. But I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. You also need to care about yourself too. Like I know it feels bad to see somebody crying, somebody in
Yeah.
pain, but
And you can't make that move.
yeah, you can't
Yeah.
make the move. Like I'm sorry, like I see what you're going through, but there isn't really much I can do. And if I did, I might even cause more trouble than what's going on right now.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
but the Kalabanda too, like when Raymond
Yeah.
was on the podcast, he talked about it as this was a project he was doing, all of you guys, to start a studio. Because you've mentioned here, like it started in the garage, and all of you are working in the garage, and that's one of the things that he wanted to do. And it's pretty cool to see that now a studio is there, and everybody they've gone to bigger projects that Kissasimoto, and it's always good to see like somebody is stuck to the goal, and when somebody achieves the goal. So
Yeah. He did mention that while he was still at that same table. He told me like, "Hey, dude. I mean, we might seem like we're right in this garage, but we're going far." And
yeah,
for me, it was like I have seen it. I saw it, the drawing from a book. That's the only thing that always stayed in my mind. I saw that drawing from a book, all the way to a finished 3D character, posed. I was just like, I have tried to do that off YouTube tutorials and stuff. And being in Uganda, it's like you need minutes. You need to pay
data.
more and more and more, and you realize like I don't have that much money to finish all these tutorials.
Yeah,
So when I saw that, I was like, I have no doubt. I had no doubt in him the very first day, and he saw it in me. I told him, dude, I'll pay you.
yeah,
If you need me to, I'll pay you for your time just to learn from you. For him, it was like, I'll see it, and yeah, like I had no doubt in him. And the minute we started, for me, it was just like I just kept going with him, and everybody that he had on the team or he brought on the team just kept doing the same thing, and it just grew into something big. Like right now, I remember going flying back home in 2018, and he made me feel important a little bit. He gave me a chance to talk to the team, the studio, and it made me feel good.
That's
And
good.
even I got to sit there with them, walk with them for a bit, and it was the same thing. It felt like I was home with my best friends, just chilling and cracking jokes as we work. It was, yeah, it is like a Kalabanda was something that built most of us. I would say everybody that was on that team at the time. It gave everybody a stamp to feel like, hey, I can do this.
Right. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I can do this. And then also, it was like, I can do this, but I can also trust to do this with somebody else, because I know Uganda has a lot of these artists love to keep it freelance. Oh, I'm a freelance graphics artist. I do everything myself. And they kind of try to steer away from teamwork and not to share the paycheck. But Raymond himself just made it seem like, do you see how far we can get as a team?
Right.
If we trust each other and just keep going. So I would say like it helped teach most of these artists on how to be like just team players, in a sense. Team players without jealousy, team players without any remorse, without feeling like, oh, he got the better shot, or he got the better this. It was just about the project getting out there. That's exactly what everybody was kind of focused to. And you look back at some of these artists, and even me seeing their names on Kissasimoto, I was so proud. Like, you have no idea. I was just like, hey, you guys go.
Yeah.
Like this. you guys deserve this because you did it.
Yeah,
You literally did it. Yeah.
I told Raymond that like I wasn't in any way connected to Kissasimoto. I might not even have known it was out there, but as soon as I watched it on TV, I was proud as though I was part of the project or like I did because it's Uganda and watching Luganda being spoken on Disney
Yeah.
Channel, like that itself gave me goosebumps. I'm like, there we go, like let's go. And it was like raise our flag, like listening to the names on Disney Plus. Like we've watched a lot of movies on Disney Plus, but like hearing that
Yeah.
Dushime, Ndahura, Genderi,
Yeah.
things like that. I told Raymond one of my
It made me
favorite
happy.
lines was
It made me very happy.
"Oh no, mwana wanange kadogo." Like that was my favorite. Like I told Raymond that. But like speaking of Kissasimoto, like what was your
Yeah.
reaction? What was your take from watching it? I know you've seen it multiple by this
Oh
time, but
man. I'm still to watch it a couple more times, to be honest. It's surreal, I'll be honest with you. And even me seeing that Ndahura, because I grew up in a home there was a lot of storytelling. I grew up for my first probably 13 years. I was in Mbarara in Western Uganda, small town, and we were in a place where load shedding was at its best.
mm-hmm.
It was at its best. So we always had a lamp, and I had my Uncle Jireva. If anybody can, like, he probably will watch his podcast at some point. I'll force him to watch it so he can know that I'm talking about him. He used to tell us so many, stories, and then I grew up as a storyteller, so much into all of that, like um, stuff, and then I've heard about a similar story of Ndahura, but mine might be different, but I just don't have really good memory of it. And seeing the Ndahura thing, being played, and it was specifically close to my language. I'm a Muchiga, but like my mom is a Mutoro, my dad is a Muchiga, so I'm like a Muchiga Mutoro in a sense. But I grew up in Mbarara, which is like the Banyankole sort of realm. And hearing those stories, it took me back, and just seeing it on Disney Plus and on this global space, and seeing it have this postmodern, this technology with these guys, but it's still authentic to tradition.
Right.
It's beautiful. Like, what else would you ask for?
Yeah, that was amazing
Yeah.
because also what Raymond and the team did was not only like people you connect with it being a Mochiga and
Yes.
being a Moganda, I connect with it because of some of like the language
Yes.
or like everybody felt connected to that. Like even the choices of things he chose, like even not only that, like even the whole Africa connects to it because there's some scenes that I talked to him about, like where Ndahura goes to fight and then comes back. Instead of the parents say, "Oh my gosh, thank you very much, we're proud of you," the mother just slaps on the head, and that's a typical African mother right there. It's like,
Oh yeah. Like, I'll be honest with you. I literally, kidding you not, like the first time I learned how to ride a big, if you remember those road bikes. My uncle had a road bike, so I went with him. I used to have like a small bike as a kid.
yeah,
Like a tricycle,
Yeah.
the one with the two tires,
uh-huh.
and then they take the tires off. Now you can balance a little bit. I go with my uncle to the farm, and it was probably like I would say like 800 meters away from home. And on the way back, he had like a little bit of potatoes in a sack. He puts it on the bike. He's like, "Yeah, you can try riding the bike a little bit." So I was a little bit tall enough so I could put my leg over and like pedal a little bit.
Yeah.
When I started pedaling and I had my balance the first time, I started just gassing it. I disappeared. On the way back home, there was a slope. I get on the slope, like I'm like, no brakes, kids.
Yeah.
No brakes. You keep going, keep going. The bike starts shaking. and you're down.
Yeah.
Eating soil, all this stuff. I have injuries everywhere. Even I have the scar to prove it right here. I have all the scars, but I got home, and the minute my mom saw me, it was a flip-flop to the back of my head. Like, why? Like, you could have died.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's an African thing, and it resets you properly.
Right. But
in a second, and you understand why. You might have been fighting and doing all these things, but a mother will reset you and then clean you up and let you know you shouldn't have been doing this.
Yeah. But like in that moment, the mother would have been more happier because he as a kid has learned how to ride a bike. Now it's gonna make transportation easier. If they want to send you to the shop, you're gonna ride a bike in like 10 minutes. You'll be back.
Not this one. Yeah. Not this mother. Not this one. You should have been taking care.
Yeah.
You had your uncle with you. Yeah. Where did you? My uncle literally showed up after I was already cleaned up.
Yeah.
He showed up just panting because he was running the whole. He was running the whole like, where is he? Is he here? Like, yeah, he's here. He had an accident, but he got cleaned up. I would always thank my mother for that discipline. Yeah. She always gave me the proper discipline. Like they gave you the discipline for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, we all went through that, and my mom belts, sandals, slipper on the head, everything. But yeah, that was.
You ever had the slipper from the flies from the kitchen through the dining room to the living room? Yeah, that ninja flip flop. That's like a boomerang. It just
it hits you.
Finds you in the ear, and it always hits you in that spot where you can't scratch.
Yeah,
you can't really reach. You're like, hey.
For me, it was a lot of chibokos. Like chibokos were the order of the day. Like every day, chiboko.
No, first we didn't have it every day. It was when you messed up.
Yeah,
things went bad.
I mean, that means we were messing up every day. So I was very stubborn.
Yeah. But those were the days.
Yeah. But anyway, speaking of that, and I don't want to keep you here for so long. I know you've also done on your own projects. You've worked on your own projects. I know we've talked about Kalabanda, that you worked with him, but like you personally have had your own projects that you've worked on and doing 3D, moving to Vancouver to continue your dream. And there's a lot of other projects you've worked on, and all these projects are available on your website.
Some of them mostly, because I think the projects that are on there, some of them are projects that I worked on in different studios here in Vancouver, and one of them is not really the best, but I did it when I was in film school. It was, when you're in film school, it's a lot of stress. Yeah, you're not that, you don't have enough money on yourself. You're just trying to make ends meet. And that was the just-in-time thing that's on my website. And, even just using your platform as well, just to give a shout-out to a friend of mine, one of my best friends that I've been working with for a very long time. And we've been having some works in the crypts, like just silent. So I did a couple of things while I was working with Raymond. I used to do something called Excellence. They were weekly rap videos with a friend of mine called Uganda Excels. He was nominated Lyricist of the Year. Was it 2015, 16? I can't be sure right now. But we did a weekly video for a whole year. Me and him, and we were just recording it off the phone and just using normal other phone lights and stuff. And he went really far. His name is Uganda Excels.
Yeah.
As well, he's on YouTube, and we've been having something in the works. I wish I had the poster ready for you guys, but as you know, the flu that has been going around this summer, it kind of hit me a little bit, so it kind of held me back a little bit. I hoped I would have had the poster ready so I could share with you guys, but we have something in the works for Uganda itself.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been in the works for a while. I'll be sending you some of these short like Excellence that we used to do back home. They were pretty. He was more of an edutainment sort of kid
Right.
at the time, and it was more about hip hop and storytelling, poetry, and now we're trying to build it up into a sense of a show,
Okay.
actually, like a 3D mini show, but then it's gonna be like poetry, rap, all about it, and it's gonna have a lot of things that people kind of recognize: duru,
Mm-hmm.
kwepena, busu.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody knows busu, you know what busu
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. 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 I do.
So yeah, and busu is pretty much the main kind of it's kind of like you snooze, you lose. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of the main motto to this.
Okay.
So I don't want to give up too much
Yeah.
before we actually
Yeah.
have everything on ground. But
Mm.
when I do, I'll probably reach out to you so we can actually have a launch of your
Awesome.
podcast. If
Yeah.
that would be a
Yeah.
good thing
Yeah. That would
for
be
you
amazing.
to
Yeah.
kind of like help us out with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be awesome. And I'm all into just support creatives. I know,
yeah,
and that's part of the motto that I tell people all the time on my podcast. Like this podcast is we rise by lifting each other up. When you come on my
100%.
podcast, you're helping me. When I interview you or talk to you, you're helping me, or like I'm helping you in some way. So that's how I look at it. We're all supporting each other, and we all will
100%.
rise together. And that's what I
100%.
love. Are there any other projects you've worked on while you're in Vancouver that you are out there like people can check out or people look to people can watch or anything?
Yeah. So for the kids as well, for sure. If they've heard of, if anybody that has Disney Plus, or those that have access to, any Disney movies, you can look for Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Okay.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a 3D movie that I work with while I was working with at Bardell Studios. We did the first one and the second one as well during COVID, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked on both of them, so they should be on Disney Plus, and they can watch those for sure. I've had my nephews and nieces love them
Yeah.
a lot. And then I also, oh my God, like I worked on Madagascar a little wild. It's the Madagascar characters, but younger
Mm-hmm.
when they're still like little cubs and babies. I worked on that show for probably about 6 months. I worked on, oh wow, 2.5 years. I worked on Bobby.
Okay. I saw the Bobby vlogs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bobby Vlogs. I worked on that a lot,
Yeah.
and it did teach me a lot. Like I'm really happy and proud of all the work that I did on that because I learned a lot about like facial animation on that show because there was by the time I started with it, they had a little bit of motion capture, so it was a lot about fixing normal people's faces
Mm-hmm.
to make them seem real. So it taught me a lot. That's how like I even got into weather to get this far where I am.
Yeah.
And I would say maybe just Transformers that's recently came out. That's something that I just recently worked on. That's out. The movie that I'm working on right now, I am at no liberty to say because I signed an
Right.
NDA.
All right.
But when it comes out, for sure, we'll definitely
We'll talk about.
have a chat about it.
Yeah, that's cool that you have
Yeah.
you worked on the Transformers. I didn't know that. I missed out on that one. But also you have
Yeah.
one on Netflix, The Cops and Robbers. How about that?
Yeah, Cops and Robbers was a project by Timothy Warre Hill. He's a gay activist, a gay also black people activist in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It was during the George Floyd era that he wrote a poem and he was literally reciting it on his phone while he was running, just going on a jog in his neighborhood, and he literally had you know racist encounters get towards him. And at the time I was working as a teaching assistant at the Center of Entertainment Arts. It's a college here that teaches it's a film school actually. And I was given the opportunity to be the animation director on that show for the students that were chosen to work on the movie itself. So it's more of a visualization of his poetry on the plight of the black person in the pretty much North America,
Mm.
I would say,
Yeah.
because that's the way it was mostly stated. based on what George Floyd had gone through. So I was able to work on that with a lot of my students, and all these kids were just have been so amazing. Um, it was a pretty heavy one to work on because a lot of people had to talk about their own, you know,
Stories.
the things that they've gone through. I was happy I got to meet Jada Pinkett Smith on that one as well. I got to talk to her,
Nice.
and yeah, she was the executive producer on Cops and Robbers. So it was some good times,
That's
some good times on that one.
that sounds like a good times and meeting people. And I know we had
Yeah,
this conversation with Raymond about the people you meet in life. You never know what they're gonna add to your life, but sometimes it's always good to meet people, and it's always good to connect with people. And that's the thing.
100%.
That's the thing I talked about at the beginning. Like we might just be here talking about your 3D animations, and but you never know in the future. Maybe we end up doing a project together. Maybe you end up.
Yeah,
Like, I know this
you
guy.
never know.
I know this guy. He has done this. I know this guy. Like things like that. I never turn down any opportunity for anything, and I look at anything as
100%.
an opportunity. Like, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And so,
It's awesome.
but yeah, I appreciate you. Oh, the other one. I had another one that I wanted you to talk about. The Rodrick's
Yes.
rules. Rodrick's rules. What was that about? The
Rodrick Rose is one of the. It's the second installment on Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
okay.
Yeah, so that's the second movie of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So Rodrick Rose is a story where um, I don't want to spoil it for people though.
Okay. Okay. No.
It's
No.
it's it's, it's I want people to watch it themselves,
Right.
but it's from the series or the books Diary of a Wimpy Kid themselves. It's a kid just going through life with his best friend, his older brother, and anybody that has had an older brother, anybody
Mhm.
that has a best friend through that time. You're trying to impress your older brother, but then your older brother is gonna always put you in a fix. But then like you organize a party, he throws you under the bus like it's you who did it.
Yeah.
Like it's a very beautiful story to watch, especially for kids.
Mhm.
They get to understand relationships between best friends at a young age
Mhm.
and your relationship between your siblings and you before you become adults. So you can be able to make the right choices and just not. Because, it's easy to rat out your bigger brother or younger brother or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's always good to just let them know, like, hey, I have leverage on you. So how about you do
Mhm.
this for me? And this never happened.
Mhm.
But, it's all about like the Rodrick Rose was specifically like the relationship between his big brother and him,
Yeah.
and just trying to see how, because he gets to a point where he steals his thunder in a
Mhm.
sense, because Rodrick is more of a drummer, so he
Right.
steals his position in his band that are seniors, but then they later at the very end kind of make it up
Yeah.
to each other, and as brothers kind of get back together and make the family just be happy. So
Yeah.
I would recommend anybody to watch it, at least
Right.
anybody that has kids
Mhm.
or any kids that are teenagers to watch it. It would be
Right.
something really eye-opening.
All right, man. Wenjay, I'm so
Yes,
happy and I'm glad we're able to have this recording done. Sorry about
100%.
yesterday. I confused the time. I was at work
No
when I
worries,
was
no
talking to you,
worries.
so I was like, I switched up. I thought it was the other way around. But
Yeah,
before I let
like
you go,
by the time you reached out to me, I was literally in errands. So
really,
I was
yeah.
like, yeah, this is not even possible right now. I was like, if I could like literally try to make it in 20 minutes, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be possible. Yeah.
No, yeah, I understand that. I've done that
But we
before.
made it work. We made it
Yeah,
work.
yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I've done that before. I was recording with somebody from Thailand, and they literally like I think 12 hours, like a whole day. Like the time I reached out to them, I think it was like no, they reached out to me. It's like, hey, dude, we're supposed to record, and I think it was like 1 a.m. here, and I was already in the bed sleeping, and I woke up in the morning to like 12 missed calls. It's like, dude, we scheduled a recording and you never responded. I felt bad. I usually pretty good about keeping time, but making sure that, especially if I'm doing with somebody from a different time zone, make sure I get my times right. But yeah, before I let you go out of here, I
Yeah.
have some questions I want to ask you.
Yes, for sure.
What has been a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
Um, family is everything, and don't judge anybody by what you see or by what you hear or by moments. Give chances.
Hmm.
Give chances as much as you can. Just don't give chances that take too much out of you. I know people that have, you know, felt like to my in my life felt like they were the worst people in my life, but then I gave them chances and realized like they were just in a bad place because we all need help. Even for me, you know how back home they say usually Ugandans love saying that stress is a disease for rich people. Mental health is the thing. I feel like everybody needs to take care of that and take care of your neighbor.
That's
Just put a smile on somebody. Like that's something. So people need that. You
yeah.
never know who you're saving it from. Like you never know who needs it.
That's
So I feel like
absolutely.
just give chances and just keep the positivity to the top, to the tip top shape, and everything will be just fine.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And yeah, I reckon that like people need some happiness. A lot people go through a lot that we don't know, and like when you
yeah.
add on to their stress or whatever they're going through, makes just life harder, makes world not a better place. Um, what gets you excited about life?
Oh man, oh man, oh man, everything.
Yeah,
It could literally be a dog that just crosses my path,
yeah,
and I would just be happy
yeah.
all day. But I would say it's just smiles, smiles on people's faces, just seeing people happy.
Hmm.
That's something that just makes me just love it. Because I remember I had an interview with a school. I was invited by a friend who knew what I do, and they wanted me to talk to these kids about creativity. And when the kids asked me, like, hey, what movies did you work on? And then I told them Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I saw this one little boy sit back in his seat and just his mouth dropped. And I was like, hey, what's wrong? He's like, that's my favorite movie, and he started crying. And I didn't know how to respond. He looked at me like a god. And for me, it fulfilled like every stress that I had gone through working on that movie was out the window. I felt like I hadn't even done enough myself. So it's at a point like, you know, seeing people happy is different. That's why
That's
we all look forward to the holidays. We look forward to Christmas because everybody's smiling, everybody's happy, we're all cracking jokes, we're just throwing back. So that is what just that keeps me going. Just seeing
that's
people's faces good. So treating people is something that I love to do,
yeah.
and that's why even like one of my best YouTube channels that I love to watch is Yes Theory. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Who?
Yes Theory.
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, these are guys that you can give it you can give it a look
I'll
at
give
some
it.
point.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
They do reach out to the bottom like normal people and just change their lives in the
Hmm.
ways you would never imagine.
Yeah, I
And
might
it's
have
not
seen
even
clips.
change.
I might have seen clips on social media about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they have clips, but these guys do like extreme stuff. Like they take you on a trip
Hmm.
to a place you've never been to and maybe experience something. Just imagine somebody showing up like to a mall and telling you like, "Hey, would you love to go to like Malaysia and swim with sharks?"
Yeah.
You're like, "What?"
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we have a ticket for you right now, and this and this, and they treat you the whole way and bring you back, and maybe hand you like $10,000 at the end of it.
Right.
It's like you see these people at the end of it, just their minds just
Hmm.
change
Hmm.
on whatever they perceive life to be. It's all different, and even for me, it was the same thing. Like you leave Uganda, you have a perception of how the world is. You get here, and then you meet all these different people and meet all these different things, and get experiencing these different cultures, and then you realize like, wow, I thought I knew,
Hmm.
but it's different, and
Yeah.
it's not the easiest thing to explain, but it's an easy thing to experience.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
definitely.
best
That's
way I can put
definitely.
it. Yeah,
That's definitely. I've seen like it might not have been the specific channel, but I've seen some other clips on social media where people show up like on a basketball court and they just hand out like brand new shoes to everybody playing basketball or
yeah, no,
like
that is more like blessing people. These
right.
guys literally like they mess you up for a week.
You call it
They take you
basically.
on a trip,
Yeah.
and they can literally take you to like a wolf sanctuary,
Yeah.
and then you get to spend time with wolves and understand why these people built a sanctuary for these wolves. These wolves have been endangered, they're about to go extinct, they're from this part of the world and stuff. You get to experience this one big life form
Mm-hmm.
that impacts you through your mind, your heart, your whole body.
Yeah.
Like giving you new shoes is great. You feel happy for the moment and you're great.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to experience life in a sense, like you get to travel and meet people and help bless people. Like if they tell you, hey, would you love to travel, get paid this amount of money just to go feed some kids in camps in a different like country where they're not really good, but you're just going to help them out and just help do some service with these guys. And you go in and you get your heart fulfilled seeing kids with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
but they're smiling at you because you're spending time with them.
Yeah.
So you just, and
Most.
I also have a soft spot because my dad himself, bless you, Edward. Um, my dad himself worked in the UN,
Okay.
and he used to work in like camps in Iraq, camps in South Sudan and everything. So I understand like that humanitarian
Mm-hmm.
approach of things, and that's something that actually uplifts me a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Anything that's about another person, when I hear somebody talk about something that's selfless, not about them, but about
yeah.
another person, that touches my heart too. And I'm the same way. I love another person's smile makes me happy. I love things
There
like
you
that.
go.
So my final question, and this is the signature question of the podcast. I
Yeah.
know down the road I'll have you back again here, but who is the one person you would want to see on this podcast? And you're gonna help me find that person to be the next guest on this podcast.
Hmm. I'll be honest with you. I would say Uganda excels.
Yeah.
This is my best friend. I feel like, and I will share with you all these videos of him from the past, and he will literally, he might not be able to share with you what we were working on what's coming,
Yeah.
but once you get to see what he did, and you understand who he is, and when you talk to him,
Mm-hmm.
you will know who he is
Right.
because this dude is book read.
Yeah.
He is book read, and he is book smart and ready, and he's just the most poetic person I've ever met in my life. So
Okay.
Luganda Excels is the person that I would recommend you to interview
All right.
next. Yeah, like that's somebody that and I would send you all his information
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say that.
100%.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say that. But once again, Paul, I appreciate you. I know we've
Thank
already
you.
connected on Instagram. Let's stay connected. Anything you need,
For sure.
anything you wanna, I'm always there, and let's keep the connection. It's only going up from here, so I think
Oh,
it
for
will be
sure.
here. So
For sure.
thank you, my
100%.
brother. So yeah. All right, man. I'll let you go.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for your time, man. Thank
no
you.
problem.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Peace.
Hey there, this is Bonnie Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with a friend and recommend somebody to this podcast. Don't forget to leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. And also don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. Join us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So we would love to hear from you. Thank you very much and be blessed.